and welcome to Energy Medicine, a Doc of Detox show. I'm Abby Michelle, here with my amazing co-host, Dr. Marcel Wolfe. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Now that I've had my little sip of cayenne pepper, we're ready to go.
Perfect. Love it. Awesome. So before we get started with today's episode, I have some announcements to make. Braveheart Nation will be back on December 18th with Dr. Wolfe and myself, where we will be showing you how to survive Christmas and New Year's. And we are going to be in Adelaide, Australia, February 1st to the 12th for our Wolfe Deep Tissue and Wolfe Non-Surgical Certification courses. And then we are going to be in Kelowna, BC from February 17th until March 7th for our combined certification. And then we're going to be going back to St. Petersburg, Florida. So excited to go back there. I love it there so much. June 9th to the 27th for our combined certification. And for those of you who may not know what our combined certification is, that encompasses our whole life coach, Wolfe Deep Tissue, and our Wolfe Non-Surgical certifications. And then you also get Braveheart for free with any of our professional certification courses. And that's all of my announcements for now, so we can get down to it. And today's episode is called Why Grounding Yourself is Not Enough. So before we get into talking about why grounding yourself is not enough, let's first talk about the importance of grounding. Take her away, Dr. Wolfe.
Yeah, so grounding is one of those free things that we have. And as I was saying earlier, it's something we probably should have learned, or they should be learning today in health class at school. When I went to school back then, health class was basically a promotion for the meat and dairy industry. Mm-hmm. I think that we should really be providing people with tools that really work, and that are within reach of everyone. And totally. Grounding and the sun and a lot of these things that have basically been utilized since the beginning of time, we need to revisit because now, the whole idea of this title is that it's not that grounding isn't profound, because it is. There's been literally millions spent on studies validating how effective it is, and we can see it measurably, whether we use far infrared, dark field microscopy, blood analysis, thermal imaging. There's all kinds of ways of measuring and showing before and after and how profound it really truly is. It's just that today we are living in the most extreme, recognized as the most extreme toxic times in human history.
Yeah.
And so, I have that saying that the extremes of today will become the norms of tomorrow. So if we actually had a conversation with our grandparents, they tell us that a lot of what we're doing is unnecessary. Mm-hmm. And so the environment has changed so much.
Yeah.
And we have basically allowed people who didn't have our best interests in mind to move us into this direction where we now have to pay, through the nose, basically, to get what our grandparents had for free.
Yeah. And I see that a lot with a lot of my clients too. Some of my older clients will be like, that seems like such an extreme thing to do, or why do you have to do that? I didn't have to do that while growing up. I never had these complications, and that's just it. They didn't grow up
exactly.
With the things
it's
that we've
like,
had to.
Why would you pay $5 at the airport for a bottle of water when you could simply, because the government is telling us the truth always, mm-hmm. It's perfectly safe, and it's just as good as bottled water.
Yeah.
Which we know, I actually refer to Toronto water as recycled sewer water.
Yeah.
And if I can do something better than that, then, I will.
Totally. I always make sure to have my structured unit with me whenever I travel, keep it in my carry-on, and then that way you're always guaranteed to have the best quality water. So there's definitely things that we have to take into consideration in today's society, because things are just not the same as they used to be.
Right. So our knowledge of something as basic as water, water having memory, people be questioning that. What do you mean water has memory? Give your head a shake.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah. And it actually looks like, before we jump into it, it looks like we do have a caller already with a question, so we can jump into that and then go into our call, or into our talk.
Yep.
Caller, whenever you're ready, you can ask your question.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Where have I reached?
Hi, you've called into our live stream for why grounding isn't just not enough.
Why what isn't enough?
Why grounding isn't enough.
Grounding in your life?
Yeah, so being grounded and doing different things to ground yourself. Did you have a question in regards to that?
Do I have a question?
Yeah.
What about a contribution?
Of course, we would love that.
Okay. So I don't know what I missed at the beginning of this.
We just jumped into it, so you didn't miss too much. We were just talking about how things have become so extreme in today's society because of all the different toxic things that we're taking in.
Really? Oh, okay. I don't know if I would agree with that.
Okay, what don't you agree with?
Well, that things are extremely toxic.
Okay.
Why don't you agree with that?
Well, we can bring up the issue just simply of Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Are you familiar how dangerous being exposed to Wi-Fi frequency?
I'm familiar with what people say. Do I personally experience any kind of interference from the Wi-Fi world into my cellular structure? No, I don't.
Have you ever done something like dark field microscopy blood analysis to see like a before and after exposure?
I would still say that I would feel what's going on, not have a need for a scope up my spectrum. I mean, I don't think that it would be required that if something was impacting me at a cellular level, I would know.
You know what? I wish that were true, and if it were true,
no, it is true.
It
is true. No. I'm not gonna even let you go there, because all that is just self-doubt. That's just doubting what you believe in yourself, and looking externally for something to qualify it, quantify it, to tell you you're right, give you the opportunity to say yes.
If
I
we
did
were to
that,
expose
and you know
you
what?
or
That
anyone
person,
else,
that thing agreed with me.
Yeah, if we were to expose you or anyone else to a microwave frequency or a cell phone frequency.
Stop for a second.
Yeah.
Why are we even focused on this?
Because we need to educate people so they can have a fighting chance.
Pardon?
We need to educate people so they can have a fighting chance. You see, here the thing is that we're starting to recognize now that the quality of life.
You know what? You're talking in a mem, okay? Because everything you're saying is nothing new. Everything you're saying is a repetition of what others have said before you, beside you, or around the corner from you.
Wow.
You're not telling me, I don't know what your name is, but you're not telling me anything that you've contributed to the dialogue. Because
so
if we
you know what? I wish
we stop
I
at a
wish
point and we say it's justified because of this. Because no. Hey, open the door and let's debate and communicate. But let's not just close the door because what I've just said is correct.
Well, first of all, you keep cutting us off when we're trying to educate. So if you could just let Dr. Marcel Wolfe finish his thought.
How many people are on this call? How many people are on this call that we're having right now?
Well, we're actually doing a webinar show. So it's Dr. Marcel Wolfe and myself. Yeah. And we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and our docofdetoxshow.com.
So it's the three of us essentially having this communication.
No, there's actually a lot more other people involved.
Yeah.
And
they can hear, but they're not participating.
We're actually here for the majority of the people.
Who want to?
You know, you came on late, and you don't seem to have an understanding of what this is really about.
Excuse me.
I don't know why you actually came on the call.
Ma'am, I don't know your name.
I have no idea. You want me to tell you how I came on this call? Can I tell you how I came on this call? Because this is going to be a very strange story. So I have a mother-in-law. I'm 50. I'm not a child, so I have a mother-in-law, and she's been in my life for approximately 18 years. And this woman drives me nuts because what this woman, so she of course like a stereotypical nobody's ever good enough for my son kind of thing. Sure. Right? Put a little of that in it. Put a little bit of this in it. Put a little of that in it. But I'll tell you the one thing I do put in it is that my frustration with this woman No. This is a very interesting story. It's actually kind of comical when you think about it.
But
Because you're wondering
it's
why
not
I
on
got
the
in the call.
topic. It's not
I'm
on the
wondering how
subject.
I got in the call. No. But what else are we doing?
Well,
You're talking to an audience.
No,
I am
excuse me, ma'am.
entertaining.
Can I talk to you for a
And
second?
I'm going to
Can you
ask
listen
you
to
the
me?
questions that you want.
Can you listen to me? Sorry. It would be better if you call our 1-800 number and speak with Dr. Darrell Wolfe yourself, because this sounds like a conversation you're meaning to have with him.
You want to know how
We're
I got
trying
in
to
this
have
call.
a webinar series on why grounding yourself is not
So you
enough.
want to have freedom of speech, but you only want to have it within the confines of what you decide.
We're having a webinar show right now where we're trying to educate people on grounding, and you're talking
about grounding of what? Grounding of themselves?
Yes.
You see,
so the grounding of oneself
Okay.
The grounding
so
of oneself.
okay. So let me talk for a moment, please.
To avoid Wi-Fi. Are you really seriously thinking you can sell people on the idea that you can actually get away from Wi-Fi? I mean, it's so insane.
No. You know what?
Argument. No. Listen, putting
it
on the table. You're saying the reason
I wish
why
you all the very best, but I think we're going to have to leave this caller because she's wanting us to go to her personal relationships and other things.
Yeah.
No. Hold on a second. That's not right what you just said.
Ma'am, would, if you could please call Dr. Wolfe. Oh, okay. We just ended the call, I guess, or she ended it. Wow. That's fine. Let's get back into it. Let's talk about grounding.
Yeah, so grounding, like I said earlier, is profound, and it has been proven. And not only is it profound, but they've also proven that access to these frequencies are having a profound effect on a person's health, at the blood level within literally seconds. So to say that it's not having an effect or that this is nothing new, well, I look forward to the day when everything that I say, everyone else knows, because then that will be, certainly an improved situation. So, but anyways, we wish her all the very best with her relationships and with her health and her focus.
Agreed. And if she is listening to this still, you can always call Dr. Darrell Wolfe at the clinic. The number is 1-855-900-4544. He is the best at helping with relationships and helping to coach people through the emotional side of things. And I think that would be your best bet, to call him if you do need any guidance in that area. So thank you so much for your call. And if you would like to further speak with Dr. Wolfe, you can definitely do that. And thank you again. And let's get back into it. Let's
just list a few of the benefits of, grounding, right? Improved sleep, reduced pain, reduced inflammation, nature's free electron donor. It's also regulation with regards to the autonomic nervous system, accelerates healing for injuries, increases your heart rate variability, which is also another way of measuring the before and after. Reduced blood viscosity. So basically, you're having the type of blood where the cells are separated. You're not having situations like Rouleau, where the cells are going to uptake in terms of nutrients and outtake in terms of waste, and everything is flowing and moving as it should. There's many ways of actually showing that the efficacy of something simple can be profound. All we're saying is that yes, let's recognize that yes, we've got cancer, 1 out of 2 people. It never used to be that. Then after that, it follows heart disease, then diabetes, then Alzheimer's and dementia, and to think that we don't have a problem, we don't have an issue in terms of health today, and the way and the choices that we decide to live, that's a mistake. And so we feel that the more educated a person is, then the better opportunity that they have to put their odds in their favor. With something like health, we don't want to gamble. It's something that the quality of life people are starting to wake up to and realize that their most valuable asset is their quality of life, whether they're 84 years old. And we're seeing people that I've known for like 20, 30 years that are in their 80s, and they're able to work with problems that they have, such as cataracts and glaucoma and, these issues, not using invasive methods of orthodox medicine. And these are things that have been proven, whether it's, Qigong or meditation. I mean, it's all now scientifically proven. So even if that young lady was correct that we don't have a problem, it's about the quality of life. So we're just wanting to be a better version of ourselves.
Totally.
So, and grounding is definitely one of the tools in the tool chest, but it's not the only thing.
Yeah.
And even when doing grounding, we want to make sure, for instance, if you're going to put that rod into the ground, make sure that there's no geopathic stress where you're putting it. So you're not exposing yourself to unnecessary harm. And also, I'll give you a perfect example. One of my instructors for a course that I took in building biology actually used a grounding mat at one of the trainings that we're having. And you could tell by the look of him, he didn't have a very good sleep. It actually made it a lot worse because where he had plugged it into, the ground wasn't true. Okay. So yes, do go ahead and utilize everything that grounding has to offer, but use it mindfully.
Yeah, read the manual.
Yeah, and
what makes certain ground true and certain ground not true?
Yeah, and for instance, we were saying earlier, people that live on the second floor in an apartment building, actually they've shown an increase in higher rates of stroke by 40% just by going from the ground level to the second floor.
Right.
Yeah, and then like all these things are measurable.
And that's the thing too with using grounding mats and different things. If you're living in a city where you're in a skyrise or even on the second floor, like we said, we were talking earlier before the show started, and I was just asking some different questions. I just moved into fourth floor, so some of those were personal questions. So it's good to know these things. You have to be educated and not just, hey, I'm just going to go buy a grounding mat, sleep on that every night, and I'll be good to go, because there are implications that come with that if it's not in the right environment.
Yeah, I helped a friend of mine who actually has a very nice condo space on the 16th floor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so she had problems with her health and with sleeping and different things, and so a very nice condo. It's a 2-bedroom with a huge dining room and study and living room, and just quite a nice place to live, except exposure to all these negative energy fields.
Yeah.
And so I think she spent probably a total of $12,000 covering the windows. She was actually on a corner unit, which is actually better than being surrounded.
Yeah.
But she had large windows, and most of these cell towers are at a higher level. So she was in direct fire of these cell tower frequencies. And so large windows were covered with a clear coating, which blocks measurably 99.9% of the negative frequencies coming through those windows. Yeah. We also painted with black carbon paint, both the ceiling and all the walls. And then we had one opportunity when she was putting in a new floor. I said, "This is your only opportunity, Elizabeth." So we actually put foil down before she actually put her wood look porcelain floor down.
Okay.
And so I can go in there now with a meter, and all the measurements are at 0.
Amazing.
Go across the hall to her neighbors, and they're off the chart.
Wow.
Yeah, and we could actually just take somebody off the street and say, "So how do you feel in this unit?" And it's quite likely that they would say, "Oh, it just seems very peaceful, very restful." Go across the hallway, and they'd be exposed to a lot different levels of negative energy.
Definitely. So. I even know before I knew about all of this, I was like, I don't feel any different. Like, I don't get what the big deal is. And then I got thinking, and Wi-Fi didn't really come about very long ago. Like when I was in high school, which I graduated in high school in 2006, but we never had Wi-Fi. It was still dial-up up until probably grade 11, grade 12. Then we maybe got some I know it was still hardwired to actually, because I remember when I had a cell phone, grade 12, and I would be annoyed that I couldn't get on my phone or use certain, if I had a laptop, I couldn't use my laptop anywhere because I didn't have the wireless connection. But I'm so grateful for that, because my whole childhood, I never was around all these negative frequencies. And then when I look into when I moved into a condo, when I moved out here to Kelowna, I had such worse sleeps, and I was getting more like, not like, but psychosis conditions, or like events, I guess, that were happening, right, because not only did my wall back the electrical room, but there was all this Wi-Fi in the right apartment. And then when I moved into a different apartment, it all calmed down, it all went away. And I didn't put the two together until I really started learning more and more about frequencies and the EMFs and how they really affect our bodies. So lots of people don't really even remember a time without it, because it's been a good 10 years, I guess, now without, or with Wi-Fi. But if you look back, there were so many, not so many mental disorders, whether it had been like ADD or Alzheimer's or any of these just little things that have escalated so much. Like, if you become hyperactive because you're around hyperactive energy, you know?
Yeah, and the effects are cumulative over time. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'll tell you, yeah, okay, so you maybe don't notice it the first night or the first couple of days that you're there, but because it's so, you know, it's like the frog in the boiling pot.
Yeah.
Because it's so gradual, and yes, it absolutely does have an impact. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm in the health field is because, you know, and especially with regards to frequency, is that my father, way back in 87, slept with an electric blanket, and he said they wouldn't sell it if it wasn't safe.
Right.
And we told him, we knew enough back then to say, you know, Dad, this form of energy is so close in proximity to the human body is not conducive to your health. Mm-hmm. And that's when he said they wouldn't sell it if it wasn't safe.
Right.
You know, so we can go down that list, you know, whether it's mercury fillings or asbestos, which was actually referred to by the government of Canada, known as the miracle mineral. Mm-hmm. Fluminamide babies. You know, we don't want to go down that list. You know, it's, you know.
And even I know my auntie passed away from lymphoma leukemia, and she slept with a heating pad nearly every single night as well. So there's definitely the negative frequencies that we are living with, especially sleeping with, are really detrimental to our health.
Yeah, and so we know back then in 87, we weren't really familiar with dark field microscopy blood analysis, or, you know, we didn't have the tools that we have today. Now science is basically confirming what some people have had blind faith in for over 5,000 years, you know, so all these things are measurable. You know, the results of meditation are measurable. You know, the Qigong is measurable. And these things called chakras, I mean, you know, that just seemed like gobbledygook, you know, to most people not so long ago.
Yeah.
Now we're confirming that, yes, they do exist, you know, and, you know, one of the other ways that we can actually help to balance the body, as we were talking previous to the show, is, you know, we can use the bioptron, you know, and we can actually unblock the energy flow at the feet, which is 75% of the energy we get from our environments through our feet, 25 through the skull. And we can unblock that energy flow literally within 4 to 6 minutes using the hyperpolarized full spectrum lens. And we can also do other things like the Vox Life socks and insoles. They've shown now over 20,000 scans. Brain scans, 20,000 or 2,000, excuse me, 2,000. We're not quite at 20. 2,000 brain scanning images that within 7 to 10 seconds, it increases microcirculation to the brainstem by 48%. It's like, yeah, I think I could benefit from that.
Just from wearing a couple of socks, not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, and so now we're figuring out, okay, you know, we realize that sleep is supposed to be that time frame when we're supposed to be cleansing and repairing. So why don't we increase the efficacy of it? Okay, so let's start wearing those socks, you know, to bed. And we have people, you know, actually for the last 3 years, that's how long the company has existed, that are showing that whether they've got restless leg syndrome or MS, that they're having a better time sleeping with these. So, you know, whether it's using touch, color, light, EMF, we want to decrease the negative exposure and to increase the healthy exposure.
Definitely.
And as I said to that first caller, I wish everybody knew what I was saying. But we know for a fact, you just walk into the general population and start saying, hey, which I do, whether it's at Staples doing some photocopying, I have to tell people, whether it's the bank teller, do yourself a favor and turn off the Wi-Fi when you're sleeping at night. At least do that for yourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. And people do that, and days later or a week later, they'll comment about how much better they're sleeping.
That's a big thing we see too. I tell all my clients, turn the Wi-Fi off at night, and lots of the times they didn't even realize how disrupted their sleep was until they turned it off. So it makes a world of a difference. And even in a condo, I know my roommate, when we moved in together, she was like, what's the point if there's all these other units around us with Wi-Fi? And I'm like, we have to cut off at least the closest element.
Yeah, I know that's a typical statement. It's everywhere. Yeah, I know, but you don't want it, at least in your bedroom.
Exactly.
That's when you're supposed to be resting, repairing. You're not moving. You're more vulnerable than any other time to that exposure. So, do yourself a favor. Right now, the internet is just loaded, with great opportunities to educate ourselves, about this topic, grounding, EMF, detoxifying. And yes, we have more autism. We have more of these fibromyalgia. That actually in Japan, they don't actually call it fibromyalgia. They actually call it, what is it? Electromagnetic deficiency syndrome.
Oh, wow.
So in other words, they're not getting the exposure of, again, like those healthy earth frequencies. You know why we're wearing plastic shoes? Because I'm a vegetarian. And it's like, well, some things are supposed to be.
Yeah.
So example, indigenous, when they were, dancing around the fire, they actually wore leather moccasins, and they would actually wet those leather moccasins to increase the electrical conductivity between themselves and the earth.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, to give them energy to continue their ceremony.
Yeah.
So, and that's reminds me, one of my favorite lines is that if you're not quite sure, then, look into nature.
Right.
Because nature will always steer you down the right path. And to even mention some extreme situations, Russia, for instance, they don't allow any GMOs. Well, there's some things that Russia is actually doing right. They actually have outlawed children using cell phones from the age of 5 to 18.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So, and they used the frequencies on the U.S. embassy, and they had to basically tear down the embassy, rebuild it with these protection aspects in place, so that people that were there serving their country at the Russian embassy could do it without being in harm's way.
Wow.
So I understand how people are frustrated. It's like, how is it that doctors taking 13, 15 years, whatever, of education, they know everything. They know, in terms of health and how is it they don't know this?
Yeah.
How is it that this cure or that cure or whatever, or this method of increasing the body's ability to heal itself, why aren't they speaking about it? Well, just do a closer examination and you'll understand why.
Yeah.
Because basically they weren't educated about it.
Yeah.
It was pretty much just strictly drugs and surgery. And, I remind people, even here in Ontario, it's not called the College of Natural Physicians and Surgeons. It's literally called the College of Physicians and Surgeons, and not even the College of Doctor Physicians and Surgeons, which doctor, of course, is an educator. It's literally called the College of Physicians and Surgeons, not doctors, because most of the doctors don't have time and they're not really educating, their clientele. And that's, as a natural doctor of natural medicine, that's our number one goal, is to educate people about natural medicine. And, there's huge changes that are taking place, and a lot of them are in the positive area. And that's what we want to focus our attention on. So yeah, going back to grounding is absolutely incredible, but please learn all of it before you apply it, so that you're not putting yourself or your family in harm's way. But yeah, the benefits are extremely beneficial, and it literally will change your blood, will change your health, if you can actually have an ability to measure it or see it instantly.
Yeah. And I know some of my favorite ways to ground myself are going for walks on the beach. Of course, I can't do that right now. It's too cold here. But so we were talking about some other ways to ground ourselves before the show.
Yeah, we're talking about, bathtubs,
a salt
soaking
bath.
in water, right? As long as the plumbing of the building that you're living in was using metal pipes, where a lot are using plastic today. So that there's a disconnect there. But if you happen to be in an older building, an older home or apartment that has metal pipes, then of course those pipes and that water system is in the ground. And when you're soaking, you are grounding. So that's one of the great aspects of it. And you can, do yourself a favor and throw in some Epsom salts and do an Epsom salts glow and do all kinds of wonderful things for yourself.
That's what I was just gonna say.
But yeah, walking barefoot, utilizing the grounding pads, and you can also while you're working on the computer, you can actually use a wrist device, which is then connected to the ground in your home. Just make sure that connection is true,
right?
And that you're again not putting yourself in harm's way.
Right. And do you have any resources or your favorite places to look for people who are interested in getting any types of grounding devices, or any more information on them?
It's pretty easy to find. There are, and in terms of education, it's just look up health benefits of grounding. And you'll find people that provide all of the tools, and as well as the knowledge and information, so that you can do it in the most efficacious way.
Yeah, definitely. So before we get into the next segment where we talk about why it's not enough, we do have a caller. So we will go to the call next and then come back to that. Caller, you can ask your question when you're ready.
Hi, Abby. Hi, Dr. Wolfe. This is one of my favorite programs.
Hi, how are you?
This energy medicine stuff. Good. Hey, I'm really glad you're doing this show, because I've got a testimonial that confirms everything that you're saying.
Wonderful.
I purchased a grounding mat, and I sleep on a second floor. And for the first 2 months, it was beautiful. I mean, I was getting great sleep. My blood pressure went down. Inflammation was like really disappearing. And then all of a sudden, like on the third month of grounding, I started having like headaches. When I'd wake up with headaches, and then in my sleep it would be disturbed. I would see like frame by frame by frame of movies going through my head, like in my dreams. I would. So the only thing I could think of is maybe live streaming from Netflix going through my brain. But I have mercury amalgams, which is like another antenna. And really, what grounding did for me was, at first it was beautiful, and then it turned into like, a detriment. It damaged it. It made me become EMF sensitive. So this is information I wish I would have had before I ever started grounding.
Yeah. So mercury fillings, I actually have a friend who has a lot of mercury fillings and is in fear of actually taking it out. But everything that he tries, I remember he bought a PEMF, pulsating electromagnetic energy field device, and all the nutrition that he does. And, he says like, it works for everybody else, but it doesn't work for me. But until he actually gets those mercury fillings out, nothing will work.
Yeah.
At least to the level that it should. So that's, something that I recommend for people. And of course, we know now that you just, you don't want to do any more than 3 at a time, and use rubber dams, and make sure that you're doing it with a dentist who is a holistic dentist, right? So that you're not exposed, and he's not exposed to the mercury.
Yeah.
So
very important.
But thank you very much for that comment. Yeah.
Dr. Wolfe, can you share more on how we can protect ourselves from the smart meters? Like, can we put tinfoil on our neighbor's smart meter that's facing our home? And can you give more tips and tricks on how to protect ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. First thing I would do, I highly, highly, highly recommend is, and now, it's fantastic, because, when I first started learning about EMFs and taking the course in building biology, I mean, I've literally got meters that are worth almost $3,000 a piece. So most people are not going to be able to afford that and can't justify the cost because they're not going to be using it enough to, to be able to do that. But now, like a lot of things, the cost has gone down substantially. And we now have meters that are much easier to use. You don't have to take a course to figure it out. And I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to pick up a perfect example. So this is called Safe and Sound, which is a great name.
That's the one I have to get.
See how small it is, right? And here's how difficult this is to operate. Okay, so you got to turn it on. Okay, so that gives you, now in the green, that's a good thing, right? In the yellow, a bit of a moderate problem. And then in the green, red, high, and then of course extreme. So you got green, yellow, orange, and red. And so you want to hear something interesting. I just actually had a problem with my connection for the 5 TV with Bell. Yep. And so they came to make sure the connection was working properly for the TV. And of course, they were down working around with the modem. And I should have checked it when they were here. And I told them that I had everything hardwired, and it's been that way for over a decade, and that's the way I want to keep it. Mm-hmm. I don't need to be exposed to that, unnecessary frequency. Yeah. And so it wasn't until this morning when I started setting up for this podcast, I dug out this meter, and sure enough, I don't know if you can actually hear that.
I can hear it slightly.
Okay. Well, that tick is Wi-Fi.
Okay. And
so I called up Bell and I said, guys, I need you to send the technician to turn off the Wi-Fi. And, so that's going to happen tomorrow, which I'm not too happy about, but that's at least it'll be fixed again for a while. So without a meter, I wouldn't be able to tell whether or not it was still on. Right. And so it's not just about whether the Wi-Fi is still on. This little meter measures wireless frequencies, which RF is going to be the biggest part of the problem. Sleeping next to an electrical panel, not a good idea, but that's electromagnetic. Mm-hmm. Most of your problems are going to be wireless. Okay, so that's your cell phones, your Wi-Fi, your, all this cordless stuff. It just adds. You're just adding to, the toxic environment that's supposed to be your home, where you're supposed to, of course, rest and repair and recuperate and all that good stuff, and be at least in a space of protection. So, yeah, so this is like $215, mm-hmm. and it comes from a company called Safe Living Technologies. And if you actually go there and look at purchasing anything, you can use a code FREQ10 and get 10% off. So awesome. Anyways, this is like $215. I love it. It's small. It's easy to use. Yeah. And now you can hear my Wi-Fi, right?
No, that's awesome. We were talking about that before. I'm going to order one this week.
Yeah, and so the thing is that, you could be making these improvements in your home. You could be doing the, the black carbon paint. You can do the clear protection on the windows. You can do the foil on the floors. And but you must understand that frequency is like water. It will find the path of least resistance. So literally, if you have a wall that you've painted and there's only a little bit that didn't have any paint, you could literally put your meter down next to that area, and it would actually indicate that it's bleeding through.
Wow. So. That's crazy. And then I remember we were talking about the canopies that we can put over our bed. We can put the sheet down. And you were saying how if there's any gaps or anything, that the frequency will really target that little area and it'll just keep going there. So it's really important to make sure you do have that device to test, because even if you are putting these protective measures in place, if you don't have anything to check to make sure you did it completely, then you could be getting zapped even harder.
Exactly. So you're going to spend money, and then find out that, oh, geez, you know what? I've now got frequencies. I put the canopy over my bed, but now the frequencies are coming up through the floor. Mm-hmm. Again, path of least resistance. Yeah. What I have next here is actually something called an energy stick. It's actually a children's toy. And this is one of my favorite gizmos for showing people that we are electrical beings. Okay, so I could literally have 20. I've done it with 30 and 40 people in a room in a circle. And by connecting everyone's hands together, we're completing the circuit. And by two people, myself and the person next to me, connecting by actually putting the finger and the thumb on these two metal areas, and then the person next to me doing the same thing, it completes the circuit. Okay, but as soon as the person in that circle lets go, then the circuit is not complete. Right. And just to show how fast, and to show that we are all electrical beings, so sometimes a little toy can get people to understand a concept that you could be explaining scientifically, but they couldn't grasp.
Yeah. I even remember, I don't know if this works the same way, that just reminded me of grade 4. My teacher in grade 4, he was my absolute favorite teacher all throughout my education. And he was super into science, and he would do all these different experiments with us. He was awesome. But he had this old telephone, and he would wind it, and one person would hold one end of this little cord. It was like a little handle, metal handle, and then another person would hold the other one, and then we would all stand in a circle holding hands. And it would zap us, like electrocute us. And when one person let go, nobody would feel it anymore. So it just shows that our charge was circulating the energy. Very cool.
Yes. Yeah. So we are electrical beings, and then more specifically, we are light beings. So we've shown previously the little picture of the cross section of human DNA, revealing 4 billion epigenetic light switches in one single strand of human DNA. Yeah. So this is the perfect antenna. All right, here, and the twisted ladder for picking up frequencies and light energy. Light is also electromagnetic, by the way. And so if we cut one of these strands like a fiber optic cable, it reveals 4 billion epigenetic light switches in one single strand of human DNA. We can actually see here a skull in this center image, which is pretty interesting.
I'll have to take a look at that closer on the computer.
Here is another little thing. This is the Princess Margaret Hospital. So this came out probably about 6 months ago. And basically they're announcing that they're going to start, which already today's December, 2nd or 1st?
I think the 3rd, I think.
All right. So they said as of December, which is now, they're going to start using light and heat for cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're not the only ones. And what this doctor here is holding, it's an actual image. It's not an actual thing. But basically it's an image of what we call organized light.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why the bioptron is so profound, because it actually, and now the hyperpolarized lens is considered as the highest organizing waveform known in nature's perfection. It's also, it's made up of, it's like these glasses that I'm wearing, my prescription glasses. There's information in the lens that allows me to see. When I don't have it on, I can't see.
Right.
So what's in this particular lens, the Tesla toroidal, Fibonacci, Solfeggio, the golden ratio, known as the highest organizing waveform, known as perfection. Yeah, it literally takes blue light, which is harmful. Now we know that. And the Harvard health publications came out with all the direct contacts to things like diabetes, blood sugar problems, weight gain, prostate cancer and breast, and learning difficulties, sleep difficulties, and all of that. Yeah. So again, it's the best that man can do is to basically copy nature, whether it's light, whether it's water purification, whether it's telecommunication. Yeah, there's a lot to learn.
Yeah. And even when it comes to the blue light and the Wi-Fi and all these things, when we're relating that to the grounding of our bodies, those all make us flighty. So if we're not grounded in ourselves and we have all these different frequencies going on, we're not going to be able to stay at that level. So that's why taking all these different measures is so important.
Yeah, and like any battery, we need, fluid, which is water, and we need minerals and trace minerals. So we still have to choose wisely when it comes to food. And now actually even the food industry itself is using something called a photomultiplier, able to see light in food.
Right.
So as the acid test in terms of integrity, they are looking at whether it's an apple, an orange, or an egg, that those apple, oranges, or eggs that have the most light happen to be the healthiest. And so they don't have to ask whether it's GMO or whether it's raised in proper soil
Yeah.
conditions. If it has more light, it automatically is the best choice.
The light is the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feed ourselves with light. Most important thing.
Yeah.
So let's get into some more about why grounding is not enough. So just using people who just are using their grounding mats, or just doing some of the other things that we had mentioned, like going for a walk on the beach, going for a walk in nature, tree hugging, whatever it might be. Why are those just not enough anymore? What else do people need to be doing besides
Right.
the Bioptron and different things like that we said?
Yeah. So it's about creating a lifestyle, a daily health routine.
Yeah.
And I'm still tweaking mine. I just added to my regime now, exposing myself to a light that's specifically just for vitamin D production, and that's it.
Cool.
Yeah. So, so it's whether it's apple cider vinegar or body brushing, or I love doing the hot and cold showers. And I'll take the water as cold as it comes out of the tap, and I always finish with cold. And I've been doing that for probably now 3 decades.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and now there's more science that's proving how efficacious it is in terms of natural endorphins, in terms of getting the blood to move, and in terms of building your immune system, and so.
Yeah, that one took me a while to get used to. Because I never like being cold, so it was so hard for me to even just turn the tap down to do it. But now that I've done it enough times and how good it makes me feel, I just do it. You just have to no hesitation, just go for it.
And turning up the heat. When we actually expose ourselves to PEMF, it increases body temperature by 5 degrees. And so now we're getting all this information about how turning up body heat. If you actually, there was one doctor I was listening to earlier today, and he was talking about a lady that exposed herself to far infrared sauna, and literally cooked her cancer away.
Yeah.
So
infrared saunas are so wonderful. They're such a powerful tool to have.
I'm also doing that with cayenne. So, cayenne, I consider to be, out of 400,000 herbs known to man, the ultimate, undisputed, for me, king.
I was looking at you drinking your drink. It looks there's a lot of cayenne in there. How much are you putting in?
There's a heaping tablespoon, along with I also have my own powder mix of cayenne, cinnamon, cloves, turmeric, and ginger. They're all thermogenic, by the way.
Yeah.
If you just look up each individual herb, those are actually the top 5 herbs, according, of course, to that 5,000-year-old, ancient wisdom. Yeah. And so they're all thermogenic. And of course, cayenne alkalizes the body and improves the pH, and it's the highest plant source of magnesium. It actually is able to stop a heart attack instantly, but it has to be a teaspoon hot water. When you put it in hot water, it increases the intensity tenfold.
Wow. Okay.
So we're touching on, all these things, and grounding just happens to be one of those things that you can do for yourself. It's profound, but, when it comes to the quality of life, are you going to put all your eggs in one basket? No. So the more we do, and actually, I was thinking about this a number of times in the recent past, about how, people that are willing to drink things that maybe don't taste the best, people that are willing to do the hot and cold, you get rewarded, and literally instantly.
You do.
So we're just trying to educate people so that they can actually make those better choices, and, as we say, try and, choose a daily lifestyle as if your life depended upon it. And it does.
It really
and
does.
It's not just the life, but it's the quality of the life that really matters.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I would just like to say, for those of you out there who are wanting to try some cayenne pepper and the blend of herbs that Dr. Marcel suggested, don't start off with a tablespoon.
No,
I guarantee you,
no.
worked up to
You'll
that
be
for a
calling
long
911
time.
and you'll feel like as if you're dying.
Yeah.
But by the time 20 minutes or whatever later, the ambulance arrives, it's like, you know what?
I'm fine.
I'm okay. Matter of fact, I'm actually better than I was before.
Yeah. So start off with just a pinch.
I've actually had people come to the household and see me drinking what I'm drinking. And they say, oh, can I have one of those? And I'll say, are you sure? Oh, yeah, I can handle it. No problem. And they'll end up in the washroom for maybe 15, 20 minutes, come out with their shirt soaking wet.
Yeah.
But say after all that, they feel amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And actually some people left the house and had to pull over. Right.
Yeah.
Because they just did too much too soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, whether it's cayenne or wheatgrass juice, organic, you got to wean yourself into these things because they not only work, but they're powerful.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we suggest the lemon honey cayenne drink. So you boil water, you add fresh lemons, you add a pinch of cayenne, you can add honey to sweeten it if you want. I personally just add our super cinnamon essential oil. And then I add like ginger, I'll add some, I'll add our curcumin cayenne capsule to it, a shot of apple cider vinegar. So delicious, but I started off with just a tiny, tiny pinch of the cayenne and worked my way up. I think I can do about a quarter of a teaspoon now. So
yeah, when Darrell and I were working at the Wolfe Clinic, decades ago, we had people that were doing, it's known as the master cleanse.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And they would, I'd see them, and they'd say, oh yeah, I felt amazing, and I lost all this weight, and I had so much energy. It's like, well, why did you stop?
Yeah.
It's like, don't you want that to happen every day?
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is you can continue taking that drink while you are still eating foods and just working it into your lifestyle, because it still is doing all the amazing benefits. You don't have to continue with a fast for it the whole time. Some people think they have to do.
It's such an amazing time to be alive if you're actually plugged in and are open to learning. Totally. To hear that, and this is from a medical doctor who helped her own husband with was either Alzheimer's or dementia, bursting it with 2 tablespoons twice a day. Now she's literally telling doctors around the world, hey guys, there's a solution, and it's not going to cost a leg and an arm. And, we know, for instance, like lemon has the highest plant source of lithium, has the ability to restore brain at 80.
Totally.
So, just start injecting, you don't actually have to stop doing what you're doing, but just slowly wean some of these things into your lifestyle. People will come to my house and they'll say, we've got $25,000 in light therapy, and we've got another 25,000 in PEMF technology, and we've got a $2,300 juicer. Well, we still rent, and we actually put our money and our time and energy into here and here to actually have the best quality of life that we can. And this didn't all happen overnight. This is an accumulation over time. We started with a distiller, and then from there we went to acid alkaline. Then from there we went to, now restructuring water with light, and actually using quantum physics, having it spin right and left like the helix of the DNA, restoring light into the water, where this light that is in the water, drinking and bathing it over time actually has the ability to heal scars internally and externally. It's like I say, it's an incredible time to be alive.
Yeah.
If you are actually open to be awake.
Totally. I agree 100%. I'm so grateful that I was put into a situation that made me grow and change and awaken to the reality that we live in, because now I'm able to help educate other people on it. I'm able to live the best life for myself and to eventually do that for my friends and family. And the thing is that they see it. Before I was like, you guys, I'm so excited to tell you all this stuff.
Abby, you nailed it on the head. Okay. The best way of leading is by example.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can preach to them, right?
Yeah.
And, they're going to put up a wall and they're not going to hear a thing that you say from this point forward. But if you set the example and they say, okay, I remember you, Abby, last year, and I remember now I see you this year, and you look healthier and you look younger. It's like, well, that's pretty hard to, argue with, right? Results speak louder than words, and always have and always will.
Yeah. Show them with the results, because then they're going to want them as well.
And now we do have a lot of people that are in the health field that don't look healthy.
Yeah.
And I don't throw the baby out with bath water. I always say, okay, maybe they're, focused on this one thing, whether it's hydrogen peroxide or whether it's ozone. That doesn't discredit what they know about that particular field.
Right.
Right. And so maybe they're an expert in grounding, right?
Yeah.
But it's maybe it's the only thing they do. And so maybe they end up with, a disease.
Right.
Right. And so as amazing as these things are, whether it's Bioptron light or whether it's grounding or whether it's cayenne pepper, is it going to be the only thing that I do? I hope not.
Yeah.
Because maybe it was enough, back in the 60s or whatever, but it's not enough today.
Yeah, no, definitely.
We have to recognize that these are extreme times.
Yeah.
We have more disease than we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the World Health Organization telling you that this generation of children are less likely to outlive their parents.
Yeah.
And for somebody to say that is not a problem.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest problems that we're going through. Even we have a island made of garbage in our ocean now, just like if you look at just even things like that, Fukushima, just all these different things, it's all piling up. It's all creating more of a toxic environment that we're living in. So we have to do everything we can to protect our bodies, and then also do everything we can to help cleanse Mother Earth, because it's the only place
and we can do it.
Live.
We can do it on on a dime, literally. I mean, Tesla invented some things that we weren't allowed to have according to the money people. Mm-hmm. But the money people, I don't think are as in charge as they used to be.
No, they're definitely
And so
not.
The quicker that we can educate people about these aspects of frequency, whether it's grounding or whether it's light energy or whether it's, magnets, static or pulsating, the better off we're going to be. I keep saying to people that, the language of nature is frequency, and the faster that more of us understand this language, the better off we're going to be.
Totally.
People are not even going to be able to lie, because the acid test for integrity, like I said, is light. Right. So we now are actually, believe it or not, we're actually using light to determine the healthiest egg in that female in terms of fertilization. So there's a zinc spark that occurs that once the sperm touches the egg, the zinc spark occurs. And when that spark is brighter, that's the healthiest egg.
Very interesting.
So like we've got now technology that we're able to see what, we could never see before. And basically we're showing that nature is right. And that a lot of people that have had faith in these things, whether it's chakras or qigong or meditation, are now being proven by science. Yeah. So it's an exciting time, like I said earlier, but it's very important that the mind remains open like a parachute. That's when it works best.
Yes, I agree 100% with that. And that's all for the show today. Did you have any other final thoughts for all of our listeners out there?
Final thoughts. If you get nothing from this presentation other than seeing Abby's beautiful face, then at least just take a few moments out of your busy lives, and whether it's grounding, the health effects of grounding, or whether it's the health effects of static magnets, or the health effects of the full spectrum hyperpolarized light, do yourself a favor, and have a look at these things. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised that we now have things that can change the quality of life instantly. It's something as simple as a pair of socks, for God's sakes, that start at $35, that can actually increase the circulation to the brainstem by 48%, and actually help people, that had plantar fasciitis or had pain. And now, because of a pair of socks, the profound aspect of touch, so we do have these things: color, light, sound, music. It's all frequency. The word love, 528 hertz, happens to be the same frequency that repairs DNA. Get excited, because you got good reason to be. We've got things now that are so profound, and a lot of them, won't cost an arm and a leg, and you can improve the quality of your life and your family's life, quickly.
Totally. And there's no need to be like fearful of the frequencies and all these things that are in our environment these days, or the toxins in our foods, or whatever it might be. We have to eliminate the fear and go into the future just knowing that we're here to thrive, and we have all the tools we need to do so. So
that's it. We're not going back to living in trees and caves, but we must do things. This is a huge word right now, mindfully. Okay. Yeah, like I say, there are simple things that you can do to improve the quality of that life. And just to put your hands up and say, I give up, it's all around, I can't do anything about it. You can't. And you want to start with yourself, and you want to start with your home. You want to start with your bedroom and go from there.
Definitely. Well, thank you.
So I wanted to say thanks very much, Abby, for taking the time to make this happen. Hopefully it's helped a few people out there, or at least get them started on their path to actually seeking knowledge for themselves to improve their health of themselves and their families.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. It's always such a pleasure. And this is the last episode of Energy Medicine for the year, but we will be back with Dr. Marcel Wolfe in 2019, and we have some really exciting things for you guys. So stay tuned. And I will be back with Bioenergetics on December 5th at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with Dr. Deborah Drake, where we will be discussing how to love the skin you're in. And for the full Doc of Detox show schedule, you can go to docofdetoxshow.com. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you again, Dr. Marcel Wolfe. And we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.